My name is Rick Browning. I'm a UBC carpenter out of Local 808 in Idaho Falls, Idaho. I'm a UBC carpentry instructor at the Wind River Job Corps facility in Riverton, Wyoming. Today is February the 3rd, 2019. The content we'll be going over is general carpentry, and the lesson title is How to Build a Lightweight Job-Built Sawhorse. The reason I chose this particular lesson plan is because I am an instructor, and on my students' training achievement record they have the option to build a sawhorse, and so I thought I would do this lesson plan so they would have one to build that sawhorse and a video to go with it. The reason I chose this particular sawhorse is because in the last 18 years that I've been in the union, I've been on several bridge jobs building concrete forms, and on those jobs the companies buy a limited amount of material. Usually it's 2x4s and 3/4 inch plywood. Also on those jobs there's a limited amount of tools. You don't have the luxury of a table saw or miter saw, stuff like that. Your basic tools are electric power saw, circular power saw, and then your tool bags, your hand tools, and most of it's all done in nails. Very rarely you might have a electric drill or a screw gun. So you have a limited amount of tools to build sawhorses with. The reason why you would build sawhorses on those jobs is to have a work table. So mainly the sawhorse is built to put a piece of 3/4 inch plywood on and use it as a work table to be able to work off of. A union brother of mine, John Hetty, showed me how to build this particular sawhorse. The advantages of this sawhorse is that it is lightweight. Most sawhorses are built with I-beam construction out of 2x4s, and they're pretty heavy. These are very lightweight. You carry them around, you can stack them, and they're just very convenient for moving. So we'll get right to the lesson plan. To mark out the legs for the sawhorse on one of the 4-foot long by 2-foot wide pieces of plywood and on the 2-foot wide end, measure and make marks every 6 inches. Repeat the process on the other 2-foot wide end. Connect the marks made by laying a straight edge on the plywood and line the straight edge up with the first 6-inch marks. And draw a line against the straight edge. Repeat that process on the next 6-inch marks. Continue until you have 3 parallel lines drawn that are 6 inches apart. To cut the legs of the sawhorse, begin by selecting 2 2x4s the width of the material or longer. Lay the 2x4s flat against the table and toenail the ends of each 2x4 with 8D duplex nails. Position the 2x4s on the table less than the length of the material apart. This keeps the material 1.5 inches above the table so not to cut into the table. Lay the material on the 2x4s and secure with 8D duplex nails. Drive the nails in an area that will not interfere with the travel of the saw. With the saw unplugged, set the saw depth to 1 inch. Plug the saw in and cut to the lines on the plywood. After cutting the plywood, unsecure the plywood by pulling the 8D nails. Stack all the 6-inch wide legs together on the 2x4 dunnage. Align the pieces as close as possible, end to end, side to side. Secure all the pieces to the 2x4 dunnage by toe-nailing the bottom plywood piece to the 2x4. And toe-nail each plywood piece to each other, making sure that they are lined. Make sure the plywood stack is secured to the 2x4 dunnage and to each other. From one end of the plywood, measure and make a mark on the top edge of the plywood at 3 inches. and another at 37 inches. Using a rafter angle square, set the pivot point of the square to the 3-inch mark. Rotate the square to the 15-degree setting on the square and make a line across the 6-inch width of the plywood. Repeat the process with the same angle at the 37-inch mark. With the saw unplugged, loosen the bevel cut adjustment lever and set to 15 degrees angle. And tighten lever. With the saw unplugged, loosen the blade depth lever and set the blade depth to full depth. Plug in the saw and cut to the 15-degree lines marked on the legs. After cutting the legs at a 15-degree compound cut, remove the excess plywood and unsecure the legs by pulling all the nails from each other and the 2x4 dunnage. Finish cutting the 4th sawhorse leg at a 15-degree compound angle by resecuring the leg to the 2x4 dunnage. Do this in a manner not to interfere with the travel of the saw. With the saw unplugged, set the blade depth to 1 inch. Plug the saw back in and cut the board following the saw kerf and the plywood. Unsecure the leg from the 2x4. And stack all pieces together so that they are the same. With all 4 legs of the sawhorse aligned the same way and all angles matching each other, select 2 of the 4 legs and rotate them horizontally 180 degrees. Place them on top of the other 2 legs so that the 2 legs now have opposite edges on the ends as the other 2 legs. On one end of each leg, make a distinctive mark. This mark will indicate this is the top of the leg, or the end that will attach to the 2x4 top. Then set legs aside until the assembly process. So to summarize what we've learned in this video of how to build a lightweight job-built sawhorse, we learned about cutting the legs at a compound 15-degree angle on both ends and cutting as many as we could at one time to speed up the process. We talked about cutting the horizontal bracing for the legs. We talked about cutting the top of the sawhorse to 4-foot 2x4 at a 15-degree bevel on both sides. We talked about cutting the end brace for the sawhorse, 15-degree bevel on both sides, 5 inches wide at the top, 16 inches tall. That gives it more stability for the legs, 16 inches tall. And then we talked about cutting a saw holder to make it more convenient when you're working on your work table. The reason why that these sawhorses are important on bridge jobs, working on bridges, is because you're all over the place on the job site, and a lot of times you have to have some kind of table to work off of. So these are basically the table legs for your work table. The reason why it's important for them to be lightweight, because you're not straining yourself carrying them all over the place. And this will conclude the lesson plan for how to build a lightweight job-built sawhorses.